and we can use it again at home or in the office. So let me show you for a second what the patient sees. Let me share my screen so you can see it. Whenever I have someone in the office who has a right brain deficit, I can just pull up this. You can all see the games, right? The screen. So whenever I have a right brain deficit child, I could just pull this one up, and all the games here are going to be aimed at a right brain. Now I can be more specific, right? I can have several ones that are more specific, but quite honestly, the way we use it, I don't think it's very necessary. What will be more specific is what we give them at home, and I'll show you that in a minute. And I'll show you in a minute a video where a patient is actually using this. But let's take more is less, like I said before. So let me show you what you're seeing. 0 out of 6 means this person is supposed to play this 6 times a day, but they haven't played it yet, right? And obviously because they don't have patience today. But we can change this from, and I'll show you this later. But this is what these numbers mean. They have games that they're supposed to play, which is what you see here. And then they can also have extra games, which is in the daily training. And in this case, I just kind of put them here for my comfort so that they're all on the screen. But they may all be, and you can decide to have them play 8 or 9 or 10 games every time they play, right? But I just wanted to have all the games available for me. And why did I do it this way? Because this way I can use this with patients. I can use each of these games 6 times a day. So I can use this with a lot of patients per day. Now, there is one caveat here. If I played more is less, and we'll do it in a second, I'm just not going to play it all the way, this will show up as 1 out of 6. Now, I can't play this again until all these 6 games are 1 out of 6, right? So I have to play all these games before I can do it again. And again, this is designed so that someone doesn't just play the same game over and over and over again. Again, we want them to get different games and different skills. But in the office, you may want to give them, several games and play around with it. And, one kid may get this game, the other kid may get that game. So let me show you what it looks like. And game instructions. All right. So every game gets an instructions. So there's a verbal explanation, and then there's also a short video that they can look at and see what they're supposed to do. And then when they're ready, they just press start, and the game comes up after a few seconds. And so again, this game, and we're starting at level 1, and we just have to figure out which one appears more. You guys don't hear it, but there's a sound that tells me that I got it right. All right. Okay, and at some point I am going to go up a level, and then I have more objects, and it becomes more complicated. And if I go higher up in the level, they're actually going to start rotating, and they're actually going to start moving in space at some point. Up here we have a timer that, because this game, we've designed it so that it's about 1 minute per game, because I don't want them to be spending hours and hours on these games. In the meantime, let me show you the therapist part. Okay, can you see the one with the left brain, right brain? Yeah, with all the names? All right, so as you can see, some of these are my kids, and I'm here, and the left brain, right brain is here. So let's take a look at my son for a second. So when I go into a patient, I have this screen come up. And so I can take notes, they're legal records. If you want to take any notes, you have them there. They're time-stamped. It's perfectly fine. You can set reminders, but the important part is these 3 parts here. So let's start with the pulse. So right now he's set to play 5 minutes a day, 3 times a day. And his intensity level is at 0, so that's normal. Now, if he gets really good, I can bring that up. I can bring it up to 10, for example, which makes it 30% harder. I can take it down to -10, which makes it 30% easier. And then anything in between, right? I can make it more times a day, down to 1, and then less times a day, down to once every other day. And I can bring it up all the way to 10 minutes. The other 2 things we want to see here is functions and regions. Now, I'm not going to look into the functions because it's a I've done it on another video, but basically it's either this or that. You can't use both. But what it does give us is full control of what we want to activate. So in this case, 100% means function is great. 0% means function is horrible. So in this case, if I look at the frontal lobe, I decided that I want most of his games to go to the right side because he's weaker on the right side. So I put his right side lower, and I can make it more inferior parietal versus just plain parietal. So he's going to get maybe more math associated games, for example. I can do it more parietal or more temporal. So in this case, it's more parietal a little bit, more temporal than parietal a little bit. And I can have cerebellum, pons, mesencephalon, and the basal ganglia direct and indirect pathways on each side. Okay, so I can make it pretty interesting and pretty specific. And it doesn't mean that every game is going to try to hit all of those areas. But he's going to get games that are looking to activate these specific areas. And the lower the percentage, the higher the probability that he's going to get a game aimed at that region. You can change it every day, or you can change it one time and not touch it again. It's really up to you. You have full control over this aspect. Now, if you don't, I know that no changes were found. If you don't like working with brain regions, you can use it. You can do it using different functional skills like word reading, math calculation, working memory, inhibition, etc. Okay. Awesome. So this is the important part on the pre aspect of it. Now, the other part is the analytics. So we can take a look and see how he has been doing yesterday compared to the week before, and I can compare it up to 4 weeks going back, and I can look at how long he's been playing, how often he's been playing, how successful he was, how accurate he was, and accuracy is a measure of where he hit with his finger, how his score was, and how well did he do with consecutive correct answers. That's combo. Okay. I can also look at it on a more accurate way. So I can put in dates here, and I can see it on a graph, and I can just decide which one I want to look at. So I just want to look at combos right now. All right. So he hasn't played a whole lot. We can see that he pretty much played twice over the last week, which is not good. I'm going to talk to him about it over the last 4 days, sorry. But I can look just at duration. And this is in seconds, I believe. Don't worry about that all that much. Okay, so I can look at more than one. Okay, so but I like to look at just one at a time. So I can look at different aspects of his performance and really have an idea of how he's been doing, so that I can go back here and either change the pulse or not, change the brain regions or not, right? If he's doing really great and it's really easy for him, maybe I need to increase the intensity. If he's not doing anything, I can maybe give him a call and say, hey, why are you not using your eMazeBrain, right? And keep working on that.